Dr. Iman Blak. Moving into our first segment called, I believe it, I Word, Sound and Power. And within this segment now we use the tools given to us of the academy, tools of psychology. We look at the tools to philosophy, anthropology, physiology, all the various ologies that we have at our disposal. And I use it in this segment to explore I. Looking at identity. Because Marcus Messiah Garvey did tell us that identity is one of the key pillars to liberating Black consciousness and to open up the African, remind the African of his own self. The identity. Because if you don't really understand what you are or who you are, there is no pride. There's no self-esteem. And without self-esteem and without personal pride, you sort of become a victim to others who have that self-esteem and personal pride. It's a psychological thing. So you begin to put yourself in a sort of inferior position based upon how you view your identity. So I am proposing that within the construct of identity, that there are 3 levels of identity. We're talking about Black people now. I'm not concerned about any other set of persons now. Because we need to pay attention to our own house, our own psychology, and our own philosophy. So I'm saying now, there is a point of dispute presently as to when is it that conception begins. Some say it is with the moment of egg and sperm. Some say it is weeks after. Some say it's months after. And the debate goes on. Presently in the United States, there's an issue because it surrounds the politics of America, the religious groupings, the medical industry as to really when does a child actually begin. The abortionists have an issue, the anti-abortionists, a whole heap of things revolve around this moment. When does a child becomes a person, that type of this discussion. But what I want to say to the island now, within I culture, I am proposing that if we view it from our article position, that when egg and sperm connect, that there's a fusion and there's a unity, there's a meeting of minds. Yeah, a meeting of minds, a meeting of energies. And that there are some identities that emerge at that point of meeting. I am saying that the first level of identity that we can discern is that of the race shall make up of this new individual. And it is manifested through physical characteristics, it's manifested through the physiology of the being. So there's a racial identity. There's also the next level of identity that is developed, that is gender. That there's a sexual identity. Because we cannot get it that there are really 3 genders, That's how we cannot get it coming true. That there is masculine, there's feminine, and there's neuter gender. Yeah, neuter gender. Masculine, feminine, and neuter. Neuter will mean things like it. So a stone is neither masculine nor feminine in its gender. A stone is neuter. So we call it neuter gender. So within the identities of I and I, we can say that at conception and thereafter, there is an identity at the level of sex. Child is either male, child is either female. There is also the identity of race. The child is either of the melanin race, African people, or the child is of a race that lacks that particular property. But I'm proposing also that there is a third level of identity, and it's a level of spirit. And that there is identity at the level of spirituality. And so the Black man, the African, have these 3 levels of identity: race, sex, and spirit. And once there's any form of confusion at any of these levels, then the whole personality is disturbed and the whole personality gets thrown off. Yeah, this is a proposition that we need to look at ourselves within the I construct. I recognize that, yeah, there are levels of identity. Some of them are fundamental to being. You can't really step out of your racial identity. You can try to change your appearance through chemicals and drugs and so forth. But there's an identity that is innate. There's also the sexuality. So when people try to tamper now with sexuality and changing of sex and same-sex relations, there is a sort of disturbance taking place at the foundation of the personality. And I wonder, where in African culture did we ever practice same-sex, those type of relations? Someone would have to bring me up to date and tell me where these type of practices took place within African culture. So we're saying within the level of identity, there are levels that we must perceive, and as much as we talk about race, we talk about sex, there's our spirit. And oftentimes people think that we cannot be spiritual and sexual. They try to divide and separate our identity when it is for I and I to merge these three forces: our sexuality, our raciality, and our spirituality. Yeah, metamorphosis, giving you some thoughts for your own edification, thinking. FM website on Sunday, February 19th at 2 p.m. for the live streaming. This is the new stream of vintage reggae in the park. Performances by Master Griffith, Yellow Man, Charlie Chaplin, Freddie McGregor, Leroy Sidleys, Professor Nuts, and many more. So that is Stars FM website on Sunday, February 19th at 2 p.m. Live streaming of vintage reggae in the park. Yes, tune in. Great performances, Marcia, Yellow Man, Freddie, Leroy, Professor, and more and more and more. Yeah, Stars FM website. Tune in. MetaMorphOsis right here on Stars FM. Yeah, looking into the identity issues, our sexuality, our spirituality, and our raciality. How do we merge these three powerful sources of force that make up our identity? Yeah, the powerful Black identity, mashed down over 2,000 years of Roman philosophy that has driven us out of our African consciousness, where we're now dwelling in the blood of Jesus. We need to return to our consciousness, recognizing our raciality, our sexuality, and our spirituality.
Not in the dark that piece upon the walls of Babylon shall escape this judgment. And the walls of Babylon change God. Yeah.
Identity issues, still working out. Wow, engineer, make a switch from me and gender change on me in here, but I'm not going to say it again. So watch your rhythm. Yes, as we explore ourselves within the identity segment, I word, sound and power, it is critical that in our reconstruction of self, we really focus on how do we integrate the notions of our sexuality, with our spirituality, and with our raciality. Because this is what has sort of been split up, it kind of split us up, you know. For example, in the woman, life of the female, a lot of the women find it difficult to be spiritual and to be sexual. It's like something not working. You know, it's as if you have to be one, you can't be all in a combined, organized way. And the same thing about with our raciality. A lot of us are fearful of claiming our racial identity. Because oftentimes when we claim that identity, we are accused of being racist. Yeah, this is a very serious trick played on the consciousness of African people. Once we claim our African identities, we are now accused of being racist. When the Oriental man holds on to his Chinese self, his Oriental self, and the European maintains his European identity, nobody calls them racist. They say that they're nationalist. And so this is where the concept now of even black nationalism surfaces. Because black people generally need a political identity. And the political identity cannot be Republican and Democrat and JLP and PNP and all this type of isms. We need to identify ourselves more along the lines of what Brother Malcolm would call it, and to what the Reverend Minister Nat Turner would call it. We need to promote an ideology that is political, that is driven by what we call black nationalism, where we defend the nation of blackness, where we defend African issues. Yeah, so that should be the political identity, black nationalism. So once you say that, it shouldn't put any doubt in anybody's mind where the focus of your energy is directed. It's toward building the nation of black people. So the black nation becomes the center of your focus. And so black nationalism, black nationalism becomes the political identity. So once we can build up our identities, recognize our raciality, recognize our sexuality, we're not into the swapping. Male is male and female is female. And spirituality means we understand our heritage. Yes, which goes deep into the collective unconsciousness and takes us back into the tens of thousands of years of our story. This is the power behind identity. And once we, like Marcus Garvey, can recognize the last 6,000 years clearly of our story, then we would have got over things like the Willie Lynch syndrome. We would have cleared the syndrome of Willie Lynch if we can connect to at least 6,000 years of clear view of our story. And that only takes us to 4,000 years before the Christian era, 4,000 BCE. That ain't no length of time. 6,000 years is ain't no length of time. So we need to work out our time references, recognize how is it that time is constructed, that 6,000 years is a baby compared to the 6 millions of years that I and I have been here in a civilized, industrialized, organized way. We are way beyond the thousands of years. So 6,000 years in this modern era ain't no big time to be able to reconcile with our consciousness. So we have to explore identity, we have to look at our sexuality, we have to appreciate the power of our sexuality. Yes, because it is a mighty power. It's about attraction, it's about regeneration. Because through the power of our sexuality, we can regenerate and maintain the essence of our being, which is a posterity. So we're not going to join any movement that is anti-regeneration. Yes, we're not joining that type of movement. All movements that deal with life must be about the promotion of life. So relationships, if they are same-sex, do not promote new life. And I must focus on creating life that is prosperous, that allows the generations to continue. Because the Egyptians and the Africans and the Ghanaians and the Malians and the Atlanteans didn't regenerate, and I would not be here. So it's a process that we must maintain. So our sexuality is important. Yes, we must not necessarily have to commodify it and turn it into a business, but the power of attraction is there. It is there between the male and the female, and it's natural. You remember that biblical injunction when God said, "Let us make man"? You remember that? That story tells us that man was male and female. Male and female created he them. So this male and female that was created by the Word, I must claim that identity of that man. Yeah, it is that man that is original males and females. So the woman, we don't understand where that word come from. And I'm wondering if there's a difference between the female and a woman. Yes. One woman, the females, then check it out carefully. What is a woman? Well, we know that God made males and females. Males and females created them. There was no creation in that original utterance of a woman. So it was the males and the females that were sent out to multiply and replenish the earth. And these are African males and African females. It is I and I who went out to populate the earth. And over the hundreds of thousands of years, there is evolution now that will take place within skin pigmentation. And so we see the movement to thousands of years, hundreds of thousands of years, bring forth a race of people that look like the Indians. And over the next hundreds of thousands of years, you see the Oriental people. These are just evolutions of the original man. And within that man, males and females, we don't hear any concept of a woman. MetaMorphOsis. Check it out. Check it out.